Now, before anything else, I'm going to do a quick tracing to get the shape of my infill before I peen this together and I can no longer get at this. So what I've done is just lined up the marks that I made equal to the front of the bed section, lining that up with these markings here. And I'm going to just trace around the interior, and you have to keep the tilt of your pencil flat against the sidewall edges so that you're getting a good mark. Okay. So then this I'll be able to use to get a very close rough cut of my infill later on. And I'm going to do the same for the front piece. Okay, even with this line here. Okay, we're just about ready to begin peening the sidewalls to the sole. There's one last chore we need to do, which is we need to do a bit of tune-up to the base of these sidewalls, which is deformed just a little bit, both in the bend and as we've done the work peening the sidewalls together. The places that are going to need just a little work are where you do the bend at the back. Two things happen. First, if you look at the sides, look from the rear, you can see there's a bit of a curve. The sidewall isn't straight, and that always happens. And what that means is that rather than straight up and down, you've got a bit of a bulge in the interior. There's not much you can do about that, but the other thing that happens is that at the bottom, this is no longer straight. So you've got a bit of a bulge this way. So you're going to want to just remove a bit of material from this plane here to get a flat surface, and you'll be able to see it pretty close. The other spot that you want to look at is in the front, where you've done this peening. You'll find that at the front area here, these have popped down a little bit and will keep you from sitting flush against the sole. So we're going to do just a tiny bit of filing to clean that up. And if you look, you can see where the high spots are. So we want to go until that's all nice and even. Okay, and that'll take care of that. And then the same at the rear here. Just a bit of draw filing really will take care of most of the needs. Okay, and we'll do a test fit and make sure that everything sits properly on. On the sole. Okay, and if we look then at the front, we've got a nice, good, clean fit line across the front, all the way along the side, and at the back, again, nice, clean lines. So at this point, we're ready to attach the sole permanently. And when we do this, we're going to work from the bottom first on these copper pieces to lock this down straight. If we work from the side first, we run the risk of, as these steel pieces deform, they're going to push this up off the sole and leave us with some gaps, which we don't want. So we're going to start from the bottom. Okay, and this is a very, very simple bit of peening. So let me rearrange the camera so you can see everything over here at the anvil, and we'll get started. Okay, so I'm going to do just a light set of taps all the way around. And again, note I'm working in the middle here, pushing out, and you really don't need to hit copper very hard. So I'm going to do front piece, rear of the front piece, then these two. I'm going to skip these ones for the moment, just to get everything locked down first. Then I'll come back and get those two that I skipped. Okay, and let's just run around and make sure that we're nice and tight all the way around. We can probably get that front tightened up just a bit more. There we go. Okay. So at this point, the sole is held down quite well, so now we can start working on the outside. You do want to be careful here because the steel is much stronger than the copper, and so it will push right off if you use too much force while we're peening. So we need to be relatively gentle, a lot of relatively gentle hits on the sides. Okay, so at this point, we're going to start what is the most sensitive and trickiest part of the entire peening process. So we're going to put the peening block back in place. Until now, you can use it or not use it as necessary because you're really working on the copper with relatively light impact, and so you can leave it aside for most of that process. But now we're going to start closing up the steel parts, and this is a much trickier, much more involved, and much easier to mess up process. So if you look, we have these secondary dovetails that you can still just make out that we need to close. So we need to really get enough force to move that steel around properly without putting so much force on that we move the sidewalls up off the sole and cause ourselves a gap. Okay. So the way we do this is you're working from the center out. What you're really going to be doing is working, for instance, on this piece here, you're going to work in this area and in this area so that you're forcing from the inside out that steel up into this without leaving a gap on the interior, without folding this over. Okay? As you do this, you're also you need to pay attention to things like you're going to close up this tongue area, and that tongue area should close up to about where the sidewalls end, so you can see where the interior, where the sidewalls are, right about here. And so this area should also close up. So this is a very iterative process where you're going to do some work, peening, inspect everything, see where you maybe need to do a bit more work on the base because things are starting to come out of place. And just a bunch of back and forth until we get everything nice and neat. So let's get started on that. And as you're peening, you'll also notice that this area is going to close up as well. Not right at the surface, but you'll see that it gets shallower and shallower, and when we lap this down, that will essentially just about disappear. Okay, next when we come back, we'll clean up the shell and start to fit the infills.